before we get to that, I want to really point out something that really stuck with me, what you said about conscious men's work, because there is kind of notion similar to you. I also got into pickup, and I wouldn't say the dark arts, but sometimes there is a bit of a connotation because it's very manipulative and it's driven by ulterior motives, let's say. I also got into that. That's how I kind of started, how to be an alpha male, and then led me to pickup, which I didn't really resonate that much. But it seems like for all the drama, for all the negative connotations related to that, there is, at times it felt like a little bit like mini rites of passage, going out there and in social dynamics, being by yourself or with someone else, approaching women. That takes a lot of courage, right? It's incredibly, people, specifically men that are actually listening to this, would know how difficult something like this is to go night out. And if you're a little bit like me, a little bit extremist, but yeah, I want to make a distinction between pickup and becoming better with women versus men's work. I think one is a lot more foundational, whereas at least from my experience, I'm also curious to know what was it like for you as well. Pickup was, for me, it was a little bit more forced, and it was a little around building techniques and kind of using them as a set of crutches or supporting wheels. Versus men's work, one thing is leading into the other, in my opinion. You don't need that many techniques if you're grounded, if you're present, you know what your purpose is, etc., etc. Maybe that's my idealistic rather point of view, but was that a similar thing for you, or what was that like?
Yeah, I definitely see it being similar.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I definitely can see there's a big difference between those two worlds, and yeah, I always found pickup to be a little bit weird, and the way I look at it now, I mean, pickup today, I actually don't know what's happening in that industry right now. I have no clue, right? It's
Neither.
super distance from it at this point. But that is to say that it is an industry, which to me I think points to one of the biggest shadows of the pickup industry, which is that it's an industry, and I say industry in the sense that it's something that is designed to make money, right? It is an industry,
Mm.
which is to say that so much of pickup, and I think this is why it kind of gives off a little bit of like an ick vibe, is because so much of it is geared towards speaking to our fears, our doubts, our insecurities, and so much of the marketing is literally exactly designed to pick on those points and to make a man feel less than less than the ideal that's being presented, like the alpha male.
Yes.
And if I'm a man who's experiencing this dynamic, and if I'm not solid, or if I don't have my inner world kind of established, it's very easy for me to fall into that, right? And
Mm.
if someone says, "Hey, pay me $500 or pay me X amount of dollars and you'll get good at women," of course I'm going to pay for that.
Right. You're
Take my
21-year-old. Yeah, exactly.
right? Like
Mm.
so I see the pickup industry as being, really good in some ways.
Oop, I think we lost you.
Uh, yeah, I see the pickup industry being really good in some ways, and at the same time, I feel the challenge with it is that it's so much of it is rooted in the shadow of manipulation and basically trying to sell things to people, whether they actually
Mm.
need it or not. And I think that's what's important is that, you know, do men actually need pickup? Do they need to learn how to get women, let's say? I mean, the answer is probably yes. We all could get better at that skill.
Mm.
But I think you touched on it before. Is that actually where men could or should be putting their time? And is it the best use of their time?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, in some ways, I think it is. For someone who's in their 20s, who's got that energy, like, you know, I say this gently, there's nuance here, and, I don't want to be raising the patriarchy flag here, but there's something, I think, meaningful for a younger man to explore.
Mm.
and to stretch and to see what it is like to have this body and to interact with people, many different people. And as we
Yeah.
evolve and we grow, right, there's just all these different experiences that we can have, we can choose to not have, and all this stuff. And
Mm.
I think there's a lot of value in men, for some people won't like this phrase, but getting it out of their system a little bit,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
right? Now, there's a lot of nuance and there's a lot of shadow to that as well, because then
Yeah.
that definitely touches on how are we just using women to try to get this thing? That's
Mhm,
not so
mhm,
great.
mhm.
So, that's to say again, there's a lot of nuance. So I don't want
Yeah,
to
yeah.
don't want to get too much hate around what I just said.
Mm, mm, mm.
Um, but these days, I'm really, one of the things I really try to integrate for myself is that very rarely are things black and very, very rarely are things, this or
Mm.
that, right?
Yeah.
It's usually a combination of two. And the question that I've really found as I've evolved is it possible to hold both things at the same time,
Yeah, holding paradox together, right? And still
right?
making a decision, yeah.
Yeah, right. And it's really that question, right? It's like, can I hold two paradoxes at the same time, or
Mm-hmm.
paradox, and then can I still be effective? Can I still make decisions from that? Can I still,
Mm.
find my way within that? And that is the I mean, to me, that's mastery, right? That's
I was
integration.
about to say the same word, to use
Yeah,
the same word. Wow.
yeah. Ooh.
Um, I think, booyah. Um, I want to preface this again by saying that we're not kind of, shitting on one particular industry. Maybe shitting is a very strong word, but um, not to say that it is a bad thing or something like this. But yesterday I had a conversation with Soma Miller from The Essential Man. Shout out to him. Great, great guy. So he's kind of finishing towards the end of the episode, he said similar thing, right? People should be aware that there is a lot of marketeers preying on their traumas, their insecurities, especially you're a 21-year-old kid, playing computer games, no social skills whatsoever. I've been there. That's exactly me, like 10 years ago. It's very easy to fall prey to something like this. So again, one thing to like you said is very nuanced. There is no black and white, especially in a polarized culture today. If you're not with me, you're against me, and that's like no, like that's not the way to do things, right? It's a very mature perspective is what I'm trying to get to, not to kind of um talk too much about this, but yeah, I do definitely see men's work is a little bit more conscious approach to that, which by default you get women as a result because you're more grounded and all these kind of things. What is pickup, at least from my experience, I have no idea what's happening right now. I'm not saying it's completely bad, just sharing our opinions here. um, is a little bit more yeah, on the shadow side.